Hi everyone, my name is Mahi and welcome back to Close Encounters, the podcast.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Close Encounters. I have a guest with me today. You don't know him. I do, though. But I will tell you about him. He recently graduated university. Let's clap for him. He speaks, though, just letting you know he speaks.
Existential crisis in the subtitles. You
Yeah.
could probably put.
For sure. Anyway, yeah, so he just graduated university. He may come off as shy at first with the demeanor and everything, but he's very nice. And, we're going to be listening to some of his stories and some of his, exciting stuff, whatever he has to say, because we're leaving things as a mystery. So let's welcome Alhan to the show.
Thank you, Mahika.
Thank you for being here. I like your outfit.
To all the people watching, everything that she said may or may not be true, but I believe I'll let you guys be the judge of that.
Yeah, I always do my research first, so I'm gonna stick to my end of the story. I'd say I'm always right.
Let's see.
Yeah, sure. Okay. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Sleep deprived, but I'm good.
I can see that.
Okay. I like your outfit.
Thank you. I love your outfit as well.
He didn't tell me he's gonna dress up like this, but I don't want to change because, I'm all comfortable. So look, you have two different perspectives and sides of people. So what inspired your outfit? Who are you wearing today?
So today, I had an event that I had to go to. It's called Ruya Careers, and it's an event that happens in the World Trade Center, for which I was required to be a mentor for the Marathi youth that were coming in to pitch themselves to get hired by potential employers, which is why I wore this outfit today.
Are you sleep deprived as well?
I mean, I am always sleep deprived. I think that's a story that every university student can relate with. But, it's more about not letting it show. So just now, Auntie gave that chai, and I think that is what is keeping me going as of now. Otherwise, I would be halfway asleep.
That's so cool. I love chai. Chai is very important. Do you like chai or coffee more?
Chai.
Oh my God.
Always.
Of course. So you said you were a mentor. Do you think that's a lot of pressure for you being a mentor? Are you a mentor to someone?
Right. So I am a mentor.
To who?
So for example, there are student startups which I've mentored. Now, apart from this, today, I've mentored students on how to pitch themselves to potential employers at the event.
So do you ever feel like if you're a mentor to someone, you come off as someone who's really smart and has it all together, but then it's kind of like you're just pretending to be someone who's smart and has it all together? Now, I'm not saying you're not smart. I mean, you are smart, but I mean, like, you get the idea behind it. Like, in a way, sometimes we have to act like we have things together in front of other people.
I think that's the case with, almost every scenario that you can possibly think of, wherein, even if you aren't smart, you just have to convince yourself that if I study long enough, I'll somehow be able to write up a story during that one exam back in high school.
Yeah.
And I think, especially in history, that's something that everyone did. So just taking that example, I think you can actually apply that in all sorts of cases.
Wise words. How smart. So how have you been lately? How's life been for you? What have you been up to?
So specifically life after graduation?
Sure, anything. Yeah.
To be honest, it's something that's difficult to describe because, it just feels a little unreal that, okay, you're now done with all of those assignments, all of those, sleepless nights, those midnight extravaganzas that you had to pull before the exam. And yeah, it just feels unreal for the time being. And of course, it also feels unreal that, you have to now start gearing up for even more difficult things ahead of you. So it's just, that sort of phase that's going on currently.
Wow. How many all-nighters have you pulled? What's like the longest you've stayed up till?
I would say it's 3 days straight. This was during boards, 12th grade.
I don't believe that.
No, I'm quite serious. Yes, 3 days.
Did you live off of like Red Bull or energy drinks or something?
I actually did.
Ew, I don't get why people like energy drinks.
I do not like energy drinks, but they do their, task. So
You know what my energy drink is? Chai or coffee. They do nothing for me, but I like drinking them. Yeah, it's like my evenings are like incomplete if I don't have them. Like I have to have them.
right, but at one point, what happens is you get so used to chai that it's just a necessity at one point, and rather than keeping you up, it actually just makes you feel more sleepy.
See, I have had a lot of people who say that, but it never has that kind of effect on me. Like I've tried it many times. It makes me feel good when I'm tired. Like right now I'm exhausted. But see, you don't get it because I'm all, being very active because I had chai. And so if I didn't have chai, I probably would have just stayed in bed because nothing is worth doing if I don't have a beverage in the evening, which isn't milk because I don't like milk.
I think that's only you.
No.
I think that's definitely just you.
Okay, that's not true. But okay. So I also go to university, literally. My t-shirt says university with a teddy bear on it. So we're in two different phases of life. So do you think you finished first of all, you finished pretty recently. Do you think that adds some kind of like pressure onto you now in a way?
I mean, it would have added pressure onto me if, let's say, I was not prepared for what was to come after. But I'm glad that, especially since when I turned 17, 18, around that time I started my first internship. And I think that did prepare me for what was about to come after university. And yeah, so in that sense, it's not really much of a pressure. But of course, the pressure, if you're referring to how it's feeling unreal as of now, it's more of a state that you're in or a phase that you go through. But as far as the pressure is concerned, the anxiety, the depression that usually people have right after graduation, I don't think I have any of that.
Are you someone who likes to take time for themselves? Like me, once I graduate, I don't want to jump into anything directly. Like I want to sit with myself and I want to do things that I like. Are you someone who's like, I'm going to work immediately, or do you want to see what you like in general and do some things that you enjoy?
I mean, taking time for myself has two connotations. Because as of now, what's generalized is, of course, you going to Bali or Goa and just sort of enjoying yourself right after graduation. I mean, of course, you must have heard of these stories as well, that there are people that are just like, okay, fine, now that I've graduated, before I get into this mundane life of mine, I'm going to travel around the world and whatnot. If that's what you're referring to as taking time for yourself, then absolutely not.
Definitely not.
So yeah, taking time for myself in the sense, in order to truly understand that, okay, what path needs to be chosen next, I would say yes, in that sense, that you're just trying to determine what kind of pathways you can take in order to reach that end goal that you want to essentially arrive at.
You studied accounting, right? Accounting and
Yes.
finance.
Yes.
So he's a man in finance. Do you know that song?
I think just before you, there was another person that was just telling me about that song. So I'm really grateful for that person, because as if it wouldn't have been for that person, I wouldn't have known what exactly you were referring to.
You don't have a trust fund though, right? And you're not 6'5", and you don't have blue eyes. He doesn't meet those requirements. Okay.
Not 6'5" probably, yeah.
6, that's too tall. 6'5" is too tall. I don't even know, like, what are you looking at? Never mind. That's a whole different topic. We're not gonna talk about that right now. So if you had to, like, sort of, in a way, if you had to describe yourself, how do you see yourself as a person?
Now that is an excellent question. How do I see myself as a person? I think as an introvert, you never really think about these sort of things. So
Really?
I genuinely do not have an answer to this. Like from a third person perspective, I would understand that, okay, this is something weird. But once you are in that entire state wherein you just think about other people, or you have those observational skills with regards to other people rather than yourself, you just kind of don't see that for yourself. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
In a way,
it probably doesn't.
It does, I guess, in a way.
It does?
I'm an introvert, so I get what you mean. I have great observation skills.
Right. So like, you have those observational skills and you're not looking at yourself
Yeah.
in that sense either. So what you do is you look at other people and you think to yourself, oh, okay, this person has that or this, and you just sort of like start associating all of those things with maybe something cool, maybe something nice, and you never look at yourself or like what you have, and you just think to yourself that, hey, okay, what I have is actually the best. I don't need to look at these other people. So I think with that sort of issue, that of course what happens at a later stages of when you're asked questions like these on a podcast with Mahika, you are not able to answer those questions.
Have you ever had a time or a moment where you could really like appreciate yourself, where you're like, okay, I like myself for who I am, and I did a good job and stuff like that?
No, I mean, of course, I wasn't trying to go into a very negative state. It was just that from third person perspective, you're not able to put words to yourself. Of course, you would know that, okay, fine, this is what I'm doing, or this is who I am as a person. But this would all be internally. When you're asked to speak more about it, it's a bit difficult. But nevertheless, you would know these answers. So it wasn't in a very negative sense, but of course, when it comes to framing that question, framing that answer for that specific question, what happens is you're not able to find the right words to essentially describe yourself.
That's true.
So just coming back to your question as well, of course you would appreciate yourself from time to time, even in this situation, because if you didn't, that would be actually a very negative thing to do, and I don't think that people should of course go down that path. I think each and every week there's this entire trend that's happening recently about journaling every nice thing that happens, and I think just a while back you were also telling me about all of the small things that you really appreciate about yourself, like waking up at 5 a.m. And I think that is definitely something that people can do, even if they're not looking at like those really grand sort of achievements to make them feel appreciated about themselves.
How sweet. Are you a journaling person? Do you like write your feelings out, or are you someone who like keeps to himself?
I don't journal. I mean, there are two reasons to this. Of course, the one part being that I'm not used to journaling in this particular manner, and second, of course, once you live in a desi household, you know for a fact that any day your notebook could be in the hands of a relative or someone. So
Yeah, that's happened to me one time. Yeah.
how was that experience?
Not good, because I was like 7, 8 years old. So when you're young at the time, you don't understand. Like sometimes you write things in your mind because you're young, you're like a child. In your mind, it means one thing, but if somebody else reads it, they take it the wrong way, even though you're like a kid. It kind of it was a not exciting thing for me. But now, if anyone even like, no one knows where I keep my diary now, but if anyone goes to touch it, I just go like, don't do that. Don't do that, because boundaries are very important. So we'll come back to that again. But you studied accounting. I'm really curious to know what prompted you to do that. Are you good at math?
Not particularly. But with accounting, one of the basic concepts that they teach you about is, of course, the balance sheet. And I think any accountant that is currently studying accounts, or even if you're in university and you're doing those balance sheets, at the end when you're able to tally both the assets and the liabilities, the kind of feeling that you get, I think that's the moment I knew that, okay, accounts is the best thing that I could probably do after graduation. And I think it's the only exam that I ever smiled in as well. So
Are you serious?
yes.
Oh my god. I cried in my accounting in my first year. It's nice to see someone who enjoys it, genuinely.
I mean, of course, you cry in the beginning, but then later on, once it does get tired, even for you, of course, you stop crying, or you probably just dance in joy or something. So it's that moment which essentially just makes you think, okay, this could potentially be something worthwhile.
One time we had a test in first year where accounting was mandatory. We had to make a whole balance sheet on Excel, because that's how you do it. I mean, it was an easier way to do it. Turns out I did everything, but then the whole Excel file got deleted on its own. And then I felt so hopeless and I felt so I just wanted to give up, honestly. At this point, I was like, I don't care if I don't pass, because that's the level of like exhaustion I'd reached. But then, weirdly enough, my teacher somehow ended up giving me all the answers and I passed. I mean, I did score good in general, but then I don't know why she was like talking to us. And then she's like, okay, you have a problem here and here. Okay, well, here's how you do it. And she like ended up showing the answers. Well, she was really nice. Thank you so much for that, by the way. But I mean, yeah, I passed. That's all that matters.
So I mean, of course, we're not going to be disclosing the school's name over here.
Yeah, but no, the
But
thing is, I got like 89% in accounting or something, which was a big deal for me.
That's really awesome. That is a big deal.
Exactly, and it's not even my major. I imagine like the shock I felt. I opened my, not report card, what do you call it in university? Whatever it is, I'll just call it report card. I opened my grades and I saw it, and my jaw was like on the floor in accounting, nonetheless. I was like, oh, wow, one thing. I should put that on my resume. Oh my god.
Kudos to that teacher. No, seriously, like.
Okay, it wasn't all because she gave me the answers. I did get the right answers.
No,
maybe
but where do you find such teachers? That is so cool. I'm not even kidding.
I had to email her for confirmation. I was like, are you sure this is right? Are you sure? She's like, yes, it's right. Congratulations. And I was like, oh God, thank you so much. Ah, so are you going to do your master's now? Or are you going to, as I said, you're going to take some time for yourself?
I am probably going to take some time for myself to understand if whether a master's would be the right fit as of now, or not. Because of course, masters have their own requirements. And in order to, of course, fit myself best into whatever requirement that they have. So by requirement, of course, I don't just mean the transcripts. What I mean is the kind of profile that they're looking for, especially if you're required to submit a personal essay of your experiences and how you see yourself fit into a particular university. You would need to have answers to this. So if in case you don't have an answer to these questions, then I think it's always best to sort of just take a step back, just momentarily, and really understand what the university looks for in a candidate, and maybe even reach out to alumni from that university or the current students over there, understand what they wrote in their essay, and then try to align that with how you can also start applying for these universities. Because masters, for your masters, it's a little bit more difficult to pass through those requirements.
A lot of people get their masters just to delay the process of growing up and becoming an adult with actual responsibilities. Have you ever heard of that?
Right. I think it's the case with MBAs.
What?
MBAs.
Oh, MBAs, yeah.
So yes, I have heard of that.
I mean, in general as well, not just with MBAs. I mean, sometimes I ask myself if I want a master's just to delay the process of growing up, or just because I would like to have another like proper graduation. I haven't had my graduation yet, obviously, because I'm still in uni, but still, it's like having it 2 times. One in undergrad, one in postgrad. I obviously had a high school one, but it was all during the pandemic, so it was kind of like you get the feelings behind that, right? So if you had, okay, let's say that you had the freedom to like completely like write an essay on any topic you want to get into a university or like a master's program or whatever, because a lot of the times they go like, well, write an essay on like your favorite memory or whatever it is. If you could write any essay on like any topic and you get into a university because of the essay, what would you write on? Like, just no restrictions. What would you write on?
I think the best essay that you can possibly write is an SOP.
A what?
A statement of purpose.
Oh, nice.
So it's the most basic essay. Of course, this is also exactly why for masters universities don't generally ask this, or even if they do ask this, what they do is they ask you a follow-up question after that okay, you can submit your SOP for 500 words and then another 500 words on perhaps a particular question that they've asked that like according to you, from your experience, from your work experience especially, what are some qualities that you've picked up on, and like what are some skills that you've picked up on which you can see yourself applying during this course, right? So it truly depends on each and every university, and if it were up to me, I'd honestly stick with the statement of purpose in itself. because a lot of the times what happens is there are certain questions which do not match with everyone's fortes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I once saw someone get into NYU because they wrote an essay about socks. I meant that on a more kind of level, but yeah. I mean, yeah, I think essays, especially a lot of people in English class, they say, they write about literally anything and everything that happened to them in terms of like, those like storytelling writings and stuff like that. What would you write about?
I mean, again, if it were to be on anything, I would probably write about my high school experiences and how I got into uh, getting jobs right after graduation in itself, because I think that's something that I really had to think a lot about. And once I did do that, there were a certain set of hurdles that I had to kind of overcome in order to get there and land a job right after graduation. So I would speak on that a little bit more in an essay, maybe.
That's funny. Let's talk about high school for a second, because you're done with high school, you're done with uni, you're done with all the stuff that we go through before, growing up. I don't know how to put it, but like, the main life experiences, I guess. I mean, uni and high school are like one of like your main life experiences because you spend so much time there aside from home.
No, I mean, to be honest, I would say that it's friendships
Ooh, I want to talk about friendships. Wait, but
and learnings rather than high school and university, because these two things are just places. Like how there's this proverb that goes, what makes a home is not the place, it's the people.
Yeah.
So again, when you refer to the life experiences, it would be friendships, the learnings, the mistakes that you've made along the way. Even that is going to be like a big part of your life. So
Yeah. Have you noticed any difference between how you were in high school and how you were in university? So that like those couple of years, have you noticed yourself grow or change in any way?
physically, yes.
Obviously. Okay, that's interesting. Good
No,
to know.
that was a terrible joke. But speaking from a more philosophical aspect, I would say yes. So I used to have trouble speaking to people at times. So when you do get into college, one of the main things that you have to do is, of course, have this transparent communication with your professors. Because a lot of the times what happens is the professors might be teaching a class of around 30 students or like 60 students at a time, and you don't have that individual attention like you did back in high school. And even in high school, anytime that I would have certain questions, I would not be able to ask them, because you always have that feeling that, okay, maybe what I'm going to ask next is something that is very simple, and if I were to ask this, people would think that I'm weird. But in university, you know for a fact that, okay, you will need to ask this because it's a class full of 60 people, and you can't possibly remember each and everything that's happening. So in that case, you would have to somehow build up the confidence to ask your professors questions, which no one would have thought otherwise. So I remember I would have to ask questions which are out of syllabus as well, just because I wanted to be sure that, okay, this is something that I am supposed to be pursuing, and maybe down the line, maybe in another semester even, this could come in handy. So I would ask these questions, and I think that was one of the learning points or the changes that I've noticed, amongst many other.
What have you learned about yourself in these like 3 to 4 years of university, however long you've had? What is something that you learned about yourself?
Learned about myself in the sense.
Anything, sometimes we go through this like phase of these 3 or 4 years, and then we learn so much about ourselves that we don't even know, but one by one it kind of starts coming to the surface.
So I've learned that those late night caffeine induced midnight extravaganzas that every student pulls is somehow much better than overthinking it over like I think around the span of 2 months, and then somehow coming up with the answers to your assignment, because that's when essentially that okay, the pressure is probably real. You can hear that clock ticking in your brain. Now, of course, I do not want to encourage this. This is not something that's healthy. But if you're asking about like the common learnings, I would say that this is one of those common learnings wherein you get a lot of things done when you know that okay, you have a deadline. So of course this was first semester. After the first semester, what I started doing was I started creating my own deadlines, wherein let's suppose if there's an assignment that's due in 2 months, I would create a deadline for the first month in itself, that I would be done with a particular assignment. So that way I would still have the same effect, but it would not be as unhealthy as the late night caffeine induced
Wow.
adventures.
So many extravagant words. Adventures, extravaganza, caffeine induced. Wow. Big words. What are some things you've been thinking about lately? Just any random things. I don't mean in like an academic way, because I don't want to constantly I feel like constantly talking about academics, I feel like in a way it kind of just doesn't bring out a person's personality in a way, I guess. Sometimes I want to, talk about things you don't usually get a chance to talk about. So on a completely random note, what are some things you've been thinking about lately?
I mean, again, you'd have to be a bit more specific in that sense, because
I'll tell you what I've been thinking about.
I can tell you what I'm thinking about right now.
What?
It's Rina Auntie's cake, the chai, and yeah, I think these two things have been on my mind ever since this podcast started.
Ooh.
Because it was really nice. So if you could be a little bit more specific, then maybe that would help.
Okay, I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. I have my answer prepared. This morning I woke up early. I went to class. I had an 8:30 a.m. class. I pulled myself together. I went there. What I didn't understand was they remodeled the whole place, the whole classroom. It used to be a computer lab, but they remodeled it into a really nice classroom, which I get. I get the emotion behind it, like fancy technology, whatever. What I don't get is why they made us sit on a seat, those half semicircle, like curved seats.
No.
You don't? It's like basically it's the seats that are like curved like this, one side, and then in the middle it's like this, and then there's another on the.
You're just drawing in the air right now, just letting you know.
Okay, basically what they were, the material. I don't know what it was. The seats. They were not even seats. Okay, they weren't
plastic chairs.
No. It wasn't even chairs. It was like these long benches, like those like curved kind of benches. The material, it was not wood. Honestly, it felt like concrete, to be frank. And they had like these cushions on this concrete chair bench thing. What I don't get is we had a lecture for an hour and a half. I sat on that cushion weird chair thing the entire like 1.5 hours. My back was killing me, okay? So I had to pick up a cushion, I had to put it behind me to make it into like a, comfortable thing. And I still was in pain because the support was like basically a wall. You know what I mean? What I don't get is if you're going to give lecture hours this long, why do you want to make people suffer at 8 o'clock in the morning? That's what I've been thinking about. And on Monday, I had to sit on these like wooden chairs that were so hard. Again, my back was killing me. I should have taken a cushion with me. I've had classes in that class before, but not for this long. 9 a.m. class. Can you believe it?
So just a tip, or like this is a trick. I have personally never used it, but those neck pillows.
Yeah.
My classmates would usually bring those because of these sort of issues. And anytime that they would start having back pain, because we would have those plastic chairs. I'm not sure if whether it's the same thing with you. Of course, the entire diagram that you're showing in the air was totally different, but regardless, I think the context was that it was really difficult to sit on. So they would bring these neck pillows, and either they would sleep or they would use it as like a cushion, just to guard themselves from whatever was hard.
Wow. And I don't think neck pillows have ever been effective for me because I don't think I'm like comfortable with them. I've tried.
I know, right? It's so difficult just sleeping on your neck.
I feel like if I wear that to class, I would look very not put together. Might as well just go in my pajamas.
That is your concern?
stuff I've been thinking about now that you bring that up. I mean, yeah, I've also been thinking about so many other things. But my main question is,
But what about the comfortability? I'm really sorry, but like, what about the comfortability that you would get?
no, I get that, but the thing is, we don't really have like those chairs that like you can lean on like this. You know, those like half chairs where you can't support your head. A normal chair. Yeah.
Wait, so you can't like
If
Okay.
if I go like this, I'm gonna
Yeah.
bang my head against the table behind me.
Okay, that is something that I did not know.
Yeah, now you know, the more you know, the better. Yeah. So that's the thing. And it's like literally sitting, it's like worse than sitting on the floor because it was so hard.
Mhm.
And obviously you're bound to feel very uncomfortable after like 30 minutes. Plus it was really cold. So I don't get it. Why make us suffer? That's what I've been thinking about. What about you? Anything that rings a bell?
I've been thinking about this movie that I recently watched.
Awesome. Which movie?
It's The Boy and the Heron. It's
Oh my god, it's a Studio
Ghibli.
Ghibli movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ghibli Studio.
Nice. I'm too scared to watch any of the movies because I know I'm gonna start crying. I know that.
Okay, you're on the right track.
Yeah,
Yes, it is pretty difficult to watch them, but at the same time, it's very therapeutic.
yeah, it's like this.
I don't get why
animation
people
cinematic.
prefer therapy. You know, it's that kind of movie. So
Why?
it's really amazing
Why
because
why go cry in therapy when you can just watch a movie and start crying? Yeah, because continue. You were saying.
because of how the animation is and how especially the director has made it in such a way that it takes its own time. It doesn't rush into certain plots. It takes time with every element of the movie. They make sure that even all of the characters in the background, that they are doing some or the other unique thing in the movie. And I think finding those kind of Easter bunnies, I guess you could call it,
Yeah,
is really fun, especially in Ghibli Studios.
it is. I do like the animation. I, however, do not. I don't think I'll ever watch any of the movies though. Have you watched Spirited Away?
Yes.
And there was one more. Something with fireflies. I don't-
That's Graveyard of the Fireflies. I don't think
one.
that. Do not watch that movie ever.
Yeah,
Just don't.
I saw a clip from it yesterday. I mean, I know the movie, I know the premise of it, but I got a clip from it yesterday, and it was nighttime, and I didn't honestly want to put myself through that pain, so I just shut it.
Good.
Yeah, it's
Just don't, like, maybe don't ever. It is a masterpiece,
yeah.
but yeah, it's one of those masterpieces which you watch once and then you never want to watch it again.
Real me with Avengers Endgame though.
It's probably the only masterpiece like that. Like, people know that they cannot watch it again.
That is true. That's so true. Have you always been someone who's been very like shy since childhood, or have you sort of what were you like as a child? What was your childhood like? Were you someone who was always shy, or was it something that naturally happened as you grew older?
If I could show pictures right now on my phone, I would, but I was not shy. And I think shy is not the right term. I would say it's more of, just
Introverted?
it's half that, half selectively speaking.
Oh my god, yes. Smart, you get it. Yeah.
Yes. So I think it's more of that. Definitely wasn't shy as such as a kid. Um, but yeah, as you grow up, you of course tend to understand that, okay, you aren't supposed to speak that much with, let's suppose, certain people. And I think even you've had those kind of circumstances, be it if whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, at some point you sort of do realize that, okay, there are certain people that you don't need to speak to, or there are certain things that you don't need to overshare at any point.
Yeah, that's true.
So, yeah.
What's a lesson when it's come to stuff like this? What's a lesson that you've like? Was there any lesson you've had to learn like the hard way?
Too many. Do you want to hear like the funny ones?
I'm open to anything.
I would say, like one of the lessons that I learned was during my farewell, wherein they would have this Mr. OB sort of farewell competition of sorts, wherein, of course, you get that award
Mm-hmm.
So like you have the prom king, the prom queen.
Oh God, I never had a prom.
There's this thing that like we do at OOB, which is called as the Mr. OOB nomination.
Okay.
Right. So for this award, there are certain students that are selected,
Uh-huh.
and there are a series of competitions or challenges that they're given, and
Mm-hmm.
towards the end, whoever can score their most highest point, whoever is still left, is the winner. So the lesson here was that you aren't supposed to overthink a lot or start preparing. And I think, as Saurabh uncle was saying earlier as well, like if you start memorizing certain things in your head, and then of course, when something is, or like when you're starting to record something, it's going to sound very robotic.
Rehearsed and
Yes,
robotic.
and
Yeah.
rehearsed. And apart from that, even if let's suppose you've rehearsed it properly, because of course rehearsals are also important for speeches. But what happens again is, if in case there's a question, let's suppose this entire podcast was scripted, and you were to have asked me something out of the box, it would come as a shock all of a sudden, and I'd be left stuttering for like 2 minutes or 3 minutes straight. You would have to probably edit that out. So that was one of the lessons that I would say I learned during farewell, wherein the first challenge was a quiz, and I thought that okay, it's probably going to be like a maths quiz or like a science quiz.
Oof. What
Right,
was it?
wherein they're just asking you questions like which are very difficult, and you're supposed to just give those answers really quickly. So it was a flash round,
Okay.
wherein they would ask you questions at a very, very fast rate. So you were not given any time, and whoever can answer the most questions would, of course, advance to the next round.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was thinking that okay, it's going to be a maths question or a science question. They're probably going to be asking formulas. I had my notebook out.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
rehearsing I was memorizing all of those formulas, and then I'm called up on stage,
Uh-huh.
right? And this was during the pandemic,
Yeah.
so this was broadcasted to all of the classes, and there was no one else in the auditorium,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone was just kept inside their classrooms because, of course, the COVID protocols, and they were all just watching it on a screen, and this was being broadcasted. There's the vice principal over there, there's principal, headmistress, all of them. And I think one of the first questions that I was asked as soon as I came up on stage was, what did you have for breakfast today? And that's when, like I started to stutter so bad. I was like, okay, maybe this is just a trick question, right? I did not believe it even then that I'm being asked something like this. And then I think the second question was somewhere along the lines of, who's your favorite role model? And for some reason, just that morning, I was reading an article about Taylor Swift. So you can already guess my answer.
You call
And
Taylor Swift your role model?
yes,
Awesome. Why?
because it was the article that I was reading in the morning.
First person that came to mind and
Yes, the first person that came to mind was Taylor Swift, and this was in front of principals, vice principals. I come from an all-boys school, so you can imagine how that was. But hey, Taylor Swift is an absolutely amazing role model.
Yeah, whether you're a girl or a
just
boy.
putting it out there.
Yeah,
you
or
know.
a dog or a cat, especially a cat because she likes cats. She's a good role model. Gender has nothing to do with this. Anyways, continue your stories. Did you get any criticism for saying Taylor Swift?
I mean, of course, like I said, since it's an all-boys school, there's always a thing, that for example, if you don't like rap, you'll be criticized.
I was just
that,
gonna
hey,
ask you, did they expect you to say someone like Eminem or someone as your role model?
Yeah, no, I mean, of course, it's not Eminem, but they would, of course, expect something else. Like, for example, it could be Elon Musk, or it could be some sort of other role model within the field of philanthropy.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the typical answers that you expect from a person.
Yeah.
But when you start stuttering,
Mm-hmm.
you suddenly just start speaking about things that you've read about in the morning.
I think it's a good thing to not follow the whole social protocol of things like this is what's expected of you. Yeah, that's nice. You said Taylor Swift. Good job. And I'm not saying it because I like Taylor Swift. I'm saying it because it's a good answer.
Right, of course. I'm not debating the point that it was a bad answer or whatever. The point here was I learned that memorizing these answers
That's
aren't
true.
going to really do anything. So you might as well just not.
What are some of your hobbies? Like, what are some things you enjoy doing, but you don't really get to talk about them enough, or nobody really, sometimes, most of the time, people don't really take an interest?
I like reading articles.
Nice.
Uh, right. So, and these articles in itself is, economics, finance, and those sort of articles. But what makes these articles interesting is because I was recently reading this article on how women should be paid for, you know,
Yeah.
doing the house chores.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of women. There are a lot of women that are, stay-at-home moms.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this article, and it was under the economics catalog,
Mm-hmm.
that how can we as an economy be feasible enough
Mm-hmm.
to pay them wages for the time that they spend in their houses. And of course, and then from there they took case studies from history and how they could potentially come up with initiatives to, of course, empower women and at the same time empower these stay-at-home moms. So these are some really interesting concepts, and those are the kind of articles that I like. So I'm not sure if that was boring to you, but yes.
100% was boring. What empowers you? What inspires you? Who inspires you? What are some things that inspire you?
Good question. Haven't really thought about it as such.
Is this one of your introverted tendencies where you just don't think about yourself at all?
No, I mean, it's not about thinking about myself at all. It's just, so you know how, like, if you make another person smile,
Yeah.
you yourself are going to end up smiling.
Yeah.
It's one of those concepts wherein, let's suppose you help someone
Mm-hmm.
and you are at the same time feeling good about it, and so both of you are happy. So it's somewhere along those lines that, for me, what's inspiring or something that I really love doing is empowering uh, people in general. So just like how today it was empowering the youth for their careers and how they can exactly pitch themselves to recruiters.
Mm.
Similarly, it could be something else. Empowering blue-collared workers
Mm.
and vice, of course, so on and so forth. Sorry.
Have you ever had a moment where someone came up to you, they were like, oh, I really liked what you did, or I really liked you did so and so, or you helped me a lot, and it kind of caught you off guard?
I would say that this was something that happened when I organized an event called Mind Matters Initiative under the umbrella of GIDEX YouthX.
Mm.
So GIDEX YouthX is the largest youth conference in the UAE as of now, and it's one of a kind, of course. And under that, now I was taking the lead on a session called as Mind Matters, which was an initiative that I've always wanted to launch, which focused on these open-minded talks, wherein you can speak about anything, and you know that, okay, you're not going to be receiving any sort of judgment for it. And instead, what would happen is, if someone has experienced a similar sort of situation, you would get feedback, or people would essentially tell you what you can do next in order to cope with these mental issues that you're having. So this was the initiative, and of course, this was all supervised by licensed therapists as well. So they were also a major part of this entire initiative. So just to give you, some sort of image, so there would be an onstage event, and then you can imagine the audience chairs, right? So instead of having a panel discussion like any other session that happens in an event, we thought, why not just have it as a huge circle in the audience space, wherein everyone would be given the mic, not just panelists on stage. So that way everyone would feel that, okay, their voices are being heard at a leveled stage, rather than it's a Q&A and people are just giving, one or two people are just giving advices. So that was how the entire initiative played out. And towards the end of it, what happened was someone came up to me and they said, "Hey, I've been contemplating something not nice.
Uh-huh.
I would not like to use it while
Yeah, got it.
on this podcast, but I think it's
Mhm.
quite obvious what it is. But I've been contemplating something not so nice, and just wanted to tell you that your initiative and your session really helped me a lot, and I think it made me feel a lot better as well. And I think that was something really nice. So
That kind of stuff stays with you for a long time.
yeah.
Thing. Do you want to, while you go forward, do you think you might completely divert your path and like end up doing something completely different where you're just helping people?
No, I mean, of course, I would say that this is something that's a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the path. So because the thing is, I think a lot of people misunderstand this, that you need to take time to kind of figure out each and every path.
Mm.
If you can do something on the side or like as a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
then it's great. Because for example, to in order to organize such mental health initiatives, you don't necessarily need to be a psychology student. Like how certain people would think to themselves that, yeah, okay, I need to learn psychology first, and then, I mean, of course, that is a great add-on, but it's not something necessary. You can learn it from anywhere if you're interested in a particular subject. So don't waste your degree that you've already gotten, and then you're going into a completely different field just for the sake of exploring.
Oh.
Of course, if you are absolutely confirmed that you are going to be doing so and so, and that this is something that you can see yourself in, then in that case, of course, you can completely change your degree. But if it's something that's interesting to you, or you can see that, okay, this is going to be helping people,
Mm-hmm.
and you can learn it from some other way, then of course that is the most cost-effective, efficient way to go about solving that
Wow.
question.
Interesting. I'm not against the idea of doing something completely different. Like you don't expect yourself sometimes to do completely different, but then somehow you end up on a different path and you're like, huh, I didn't know I could have a
Exactly.
fondness for something like that. And then just life throws something at you and you're like, maybe this is what I'm meant to do. And then you end up doing that. A lot of good stories out there to hear about stuff like that. So never say never, you know what I mean?
Right. So, for example, even for you, your degree is not related to this podcast at all. You didn't need a journalism and communications degree for this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my point again is that if you do want to explore something different, you can,
Mm-hmm.
but in the most cost-effective way. Because a lot of people, what they
Yeah,
do is they just completely go off.
Mm.
So that was the one misconception that I just wanted to kind of talk about.
Wow. Okay, let's divert from academics because somehow we keep ending up on that topic. Let's talk about summer break. How was summer break for you?
Which one?
Summer break, we just had summer break.
So this summer break was, to be honest, just exam seasons.
Really?
Yes.
Can't relate. I think you're what people call a workaholic because you're always doing something or the other. Working somewhere, doing something, occupied with some kind of project. Is it because you want to avoid your own internal thoughts and not be alone with yourself?
No,
Is this where you said you were going to throw a pillow at me if I went really deep or something really deep
perhaps,
questions?
perhaps.
You didn't throw a pillow. Good job.
You know those reels wherein, it's like blink twice if you need help.
You can blink twice if you want,
Yeah.
but it's not going to do anything.
I wish these people could just, jump out of the screen and then do something about
Too
this.
entertaining. They're not going to do that.
No, but yeah, no, it really has nothing to do with it. I think a lot of these other things, the hobbies, they come from my childhood, wherein I was involved in lots of philanthropic initiatives. So growing up, I've always seen the kind of impact that it makes on people. And yeah, I think from there, it just became a hobby of mine or something habitual, that okay, you can essentially do initiatives like these every once in a while. So maybe in summer break, or maybe when you do have the time during your studies, that you can create something which could essentially impact or empower people, and that's all there is to it. It doesn't have a deep philosophical meaning behind it.
That's what you think. No, I'm just kidding. That's fine.
doesn't.
That's cool. It's cool. It's cool. People like working. You work, and you work. Like that song that Rihanna made one time, if you know what I mean. That one song that
Yes.
very fun. Anyways, oh my god, do you ever hyperfixate on things, or do you have hyperfixations where you're just like obsessed with one thing and you talk about it and you make sure everyone knows that you're obsessed with it?
I doubt that. No.
Really?
Yeah.
Girl, what do you do then?
That's you with F1. Yes. So tell me about your hyperfixation.
It's nice, but it's not about me right now as much as I would love to talk about it. If you ask me right now, just like tell me, I'm gonna go on for hours. Ask me one specific question, I'll give you one specific answer, and I will use the techniques of self-control to hold back and not talk about it.
That's awesome then. In that case, I don't think it's more about hyperfixation for you, because you do have that sort of self-control, and you know that okay, you can't obsess over something in a manner that it makes the other person kind of feel that you are obsessing a lot, and in a toxic way.
No, it's like I love talking about stuff I'm obsessed with. Like this one summer, like 3 years ago, I was obsessed with like Shakespeare, learning about Shakespeare. I've always wanted to study Shakespeare. So I taught myself Midsummer Night's Dream, did not understand a single thing. I cannot recite it even if you ask me. But I did study it and I understood the whole context behind it. I did this whole like Spark Notes or Cliff Notes, whatever the heck it's called. I did the whole thing. I learned questions and answers and stuff like that. And then I made sure everyone in my family, they sat for an hour and they knew that I knew what the story was about and who the characters were and what happens to them. Because my dad, he knows, Shakespeare, not personally. He doesn't know Shakespeare personally, obviously, but he studied a bit of Shakespeare. I mean, parents, they do study in English class. I was like, look, this and this happened, and then after a point, he was just like, please stop talking. Because I went into too much detail. And that's what I mean. Every summer for the past 4 summers, I've had hyperfixations where I hyperfixate over one specific topic. And I make sure everybody knows. Like you said with F1, like I became obsessed with F1 over the summer. But the thing is, I feel like it's my true calling. It's just like not to become an F1 driver, but to just like love them. Like, be obsessed with the whole thing.
I mean, but then of course there's a very fine line between hyperfixation and things that you really love. Like for example, a lot of people love Marvel movies, and if the topic comes up, they talk about Marvel movies. So again, as long as you're not someone that just randomly goes like, hey,
Marvel, am I right?
Yes.
No, I'd say F1 is my obsession, but hyperfixation, I meant more like some stuff, like some topics or something like you enjoy. Like I like history, so I've learned a lot of random stories from history over the years. Civil War, I haven't studied it, but for some reason I know a lot about it. French Revolution, know a lot about that. Shakespeare. Is Shakespeare? Okay, I mean, sure, Shakespeare. I don't want to say Shakespeare, but Shakespeare. Know a lot about that guy. Yeah. So like, one time I tried studying classical music. Oh my god, I'll tell you what hyperfixation I meant. One time I was studying for my finals, English finals, and the thing was that English finals, right? How much can you write? Because it's spontaneous. I mean, you can only do so many past papers. I got bored. I was sitting on my table, and then all of a sudden I went like, I want to learn Latin. So I started learning Latin.
Right, but what exactly was the hyperfixation over
Because I was obsessed with like learning. I was like, I want to understand the history of the language, and I want to learn how to speak it. And it's like a hidden talent I can pull out anywhere I want. It's kind of like, hey, guess what? I can speak Latin and you can't.
But would you just pull out that fact in any sort of conversation without any context, or
Obviously not without any context,
right?
it's
So
like a
then, I mean,
build-up. So
it's
do you have anything like that where, you find yourself being curious? I think that's a better word. Curious about certain things, and you kind of indulge yourself in that topic, and you're just like, oh, interesting.
I think that there was some sort of miscommunication with what hyperfixation meant.
No, I'm just trying to change the meaning at this point because I really don't want to explain it even more. So I'm just saying, are you curious about certain topics where you're like, you study it and then you're kind of just like, I'm curious.
Right. So I would say that's economics.
Interesting. Demand, supply, GDP,
Yes.
disposable income, stocks, and that diagram they make you do, the whole stupid demand supply curve. I hate that. Yeah.
And do you remember like everything from economics? Because that is almost like the entire curriculum that you would learn in high school, which is really cool.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I didn't like it at all. But I would say in my final year of doing economics, I aced that final because
Teacher.
not teacher,
I'm
actually.
joking.
Yeah, me actually. No, because I finally understood how to structure my answers and I worked really hard on trying to understand everything. So I did that and I gave her the best possible answers she could possibly get from the entire grade.
Right. And once you do, you know, kind of understand as well that it's kind of cool at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
Especially that one graph with equilibriums. Okay. It's just me. Fine.
I don't know. See, that's where I draw the line because with those multiple choice questions, that was like, oh, what does this graph show, or calculate what this graph, whatever nonsense. I don't know, man. I haven't studied economics in like 4 years, so I wouldn't know. Yeah, that's where I draw the line because I'm not gonna. I always suck at multiple choice questions.
So I mean, if you are talking about curiosity, it's not just economics. And I think it's the same for everyone.
Yeah.
I think everyone has this curiosity to maybe
Learn.
look into other aspects of
Mm.
just anything apart from their field.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
for you, it's journalism and communication as of now.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I guess in a way. One
You're
time.
indirectly actually going into it.
Yeah. I mean, one time I was like 10 years old. I sat and I was obsessed with law.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was really intrigued by it. So I pulled up like law papers. I went on images and I clicked on like, they actually those like studies and actual papers that law students write. I clicked on it, I read it, and then I told my parents what I learned. It's also because I'm obsessed with like crime shows, like Criminal Minds and stuff. So I learned a lot from that as well. I wanted to be an FBI agent at one point.
Which crime show was it?
Criminal Minds. Because they used psychology in the show to catch criminals. That was something I was intrigued with.
Never heard of it, but I can kind of relate to what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I went and I told them everything. They're like, what are you reading? What is all this? Where did you learn all this? I'm just like, knowledge. Cool. So let's talk about friendships because I want to talk about friendships.
Mm-hmm.
What has the relationship been like with that term for you? Because do you think it's easier in our day and age, as the kids call it, in like our time, the time that we're growing up? Do you think it's easier to make friends, or it's just something like everyone's an acquaintance?
I really like how this question was asked. Depends. Everyone has a different definition for what friends are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's part of the issue as well.
Mm.
That for them, maybe one person, a friend is someone who is just going to support them no matter what. When in reality, a friend is someone who will support them when they're right and will correct them when they're wrong, right? And I think people, there are certain people that just don't understand this. So I think it's more about the kind of definition that you give friendship, regardless of what day and age it is.
But how has friendships changed for you over the years? From when you were a kid, and then when you went to high school, when you went to college, and where you're at right now? Because you learn a lot of things along the way about people, about what friendships truly are. and things like that.
I think that would be a whole different podcast if you actually do dive into it.
Give me some insights.
But again, so if you're referring to, like how it has changed, as kids, if someone were to give you that shiny pencil with the really good smelling eraser, you would be best friends. I'm not sure if you've
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
we had erasers that had those strawberry and
No, so it would be a
apple and mango
pencil. Yeah, it
smells.
would be a pencil, and then
Yeah.
on the top, the eraser would be scented. So it would, yeah. So if anyone were to give you that, then you guys are best friends
Oh.
forever. So that was as kids, and of course, as you grow up, you start to realize that okay, people have different definitions of friendships and why they're even friends with you in the first place. So maybe it was because that you would give them your lunch, or maybe it was because you would help them with their homework, or
Mhm.
just do their homework altogether, that they were friends with you.
Have you ever done someone's homework for them? I wouldn't put it past you, honestly. Have you ever?
Yeah. I mean, for the record, it was kind of fun.
Did you at least get paid for it?
No, it wasn't the paid kind of stuff. That's illegal.
No,
It was in high school, wherein, yeah, it was in that sort of, that definitely comes under,
I've seen people in university. I've heard a story one time of someone who profited off of doing other people's assignments for them. Pay me, I'll do your assignment for you.
right. So that in the UAE specifically is illegal, and there are laws for it as well.
I know, but don't look at the logistics. Look at the, as I always say, don't look at the logistics. Look at the emotion behind it. You get it? Like, look at the. Forget it. Anyways, continue your story.
What's the emotion that you could possibly have behind
It's
this?
called.
Crime.
It's called being smart. If people are gonna benefit off of you, you make sure you benefit off of them as well. Which ties very well into this whole topic of friendship. Because these days friendships are all about give and take, which sucks. Because it's like if you don't benefit me, I'm not gonna be friends with you. But
See, the kind of homework that I did was essentially in high school, wherein I just wanted more questions to practice from, and there were different questions given to each and every one.
girl, okay.
So that's why like whenever someone asked me for help, I would just do their question for them, and it would just be homework. It would not be graded work or anything as such.
Yeah.
Wherein they're using my work in order to get good grades.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. That is what I would do in high school, and then in college again. Your priorities change for what friends are like. Not exactly sure how to describe it, but I think everyone would understand how university is,
Mm-hmm.
and how complex each and everything is with different communities, different clubs. There's a lot of drama. Yeah, that is the best word that I could have used right now. Drama. Yes.
You think that by the time people get into university, they'd have some level of maturity, but they don't.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually really immature. And then you realize you're the mature one. Yeah, I never thought I'd say that about myself. I'm the mature one. But, happens with day and age and experience and
So I think I've covered the 3 stages, which is, of course, primary school, high school, and then university.
So, okay, tell me this. It was a very vague answer. I'll give you that. You did a very good job at answering it very strategically. Do you think you've had a sort of good experience with friendships in a way? Or has it been kind of challenging for you?
No, I mean, of course, you can't obviously expect everything to be like My Little Pony, friendship is magic,
What?
It's all of those fairy tale stuff.
Uh-huh.
That of course, you read as a kid, and that show is, of course, like one of the shows that just came to my head right now, just like how Taylor Swift came to my head during Farewell.
My Little Pony.
Their tagline being "friendship is magic." Not everything is, of course, going to be that way, but there are going to be certain circumstances wherein you know that okay, it is definitely something that's nice.
Huh.
So with friendship, I would say that this happened with me in India, wherein I studied over there for around a year.
Wow.
And yeah, imagine around a year, I made friends, and this was back in 8th grade. So you wouldn't expect people to be that mature either, because of course it's 8th grade, you're just growing up. And there's this culture of the teacher hitting you with a scale. I'm not
Wow.
sure if you know about that.
I am very familiar with it.
Right. So I had forgotten my textbook once,
No, that's so sad.
but I did bring my notebook, and I could have easily just shared it with. But anyways, that aside, the teacher saw that. He called me in front of the class, and he was like, "Show me your hand."
Oh no, that's so
Yeah.
sad.
And I, of course, take out my hand, and I'm just getting ready to, just hear that sound of that scale just hitting my hand. And all of a sudden, I hear someone get up and then suddenly shout, "Sir, don't do this."
Oh, I thought it was gonna be something cinematic, like someone puts their hand in front of yours and take the fall.
I mean, technically, it's something of that sort
Yeah.
itself. Like, so someone just shouts, "Sir, don't do this," and it's like this one other guy who I was friends with, and then of course the teacher is like very confused because this is not something which is normal in an Indian classroom specifically, and the teacher just looks at the guy, and the guy just goes like, "He scored really well in maths," and then the teacher is like, "Oh, is that so?" And then he's like, "Yes, so you can't hit him."
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What
so,
if you scored like not so well in math? If you still would have.
I mean,
double
yeah,
suffered?
probably. So, right. So he did, of course, stand up for, and that at like 8th grade, that is quite a huge thing.
Commendable. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end, the teacher called him as well. So we both got hit by a scale. So again, my point being over here that it was funny, but at the same time, you sort of understand, that these are the kind of people that are friends.
Shout out to your friend, whoever
Yes.
that may be.
And he's still in touch with me, even now.
Great. Very nice. Okay. You said My Little Pony. I'm really curious. Do you watch cartoons?
I have cousins that are
Okay, but
toddlers, so
yeah.
I have to put these shows on.
Is it like Peppa Pig and Bluey and stuff like that?
Bluey.
I love Bluey, man. I
My
love
Little
Bluey.
Pony. I know, right? For some reason, those storylines are actually quite engaging. I think it has more to do with how they've directed it, because the kind of colors that they use is, I think there was a study as well that the colors that they use is to make it more appealing,
kids, yeah.
yes, to kids, and it's more stimulating as well.
Less stimulating. More stimulating would drive them insane.
I think it was more engaging, the term that I was trying to use. Yes, sorry.
Have you watched Doraemon?
Of course.
What about Shin-chan?
Of course.
So who would you pick between Doraemon and
Shin-chan.
Shin-chan?
Yes.
Why?
I'm not sure if you've heard Shin-chan in the Hindi dubbed version. Have you?
Do you think I'm proficient in Japanese to actually watch Shin-chan in Japanese? Actually, I did watch Shin-chan in Japanese as a kid, but obviously I had Disney India. I watched it in Hindi all the time. I can do a really good Shin-chan impression as well.
No, because it was not
Yeah.
just Hindi,
But I mean, most of the time they did show it in Hindi. Sometimes you'd probably find it in like Japanese. Yeah. So did you like Shin-chan as a kid more than Doraemon?
A lot, yes.
I ran into a kid one time a while back who was Shin-chan's height.
No way.
A couple inches taller than him, but basically he was Shin-chan's height. So it's like a football.
Did he look like Shin-chan?
What, with his face, like how Shin-chan's face is like kind of like that, like Sonio's face? He looks like a frog.
No way, you did not just compare it with Sonio's face. Sonio is more to do with Phineas, maybe.
Oh my god.
Yeah, actually, now that you think about it, both of them do look like triangles.
let's not face shame someone, okay?
It's a 2D cartoon.
I know.
It's a 2D cartoon.
No, it's called having respect for
For
the artist.
Sunyu?
And yeah, he's rich. We must respect the rich. Give me some money, please. That would be nice.
Yes, the Sunyu was just going to come out of the screen and just be like,
I
yeah.
mean, imagine his mom every time she came on screen with that voice. Like, woo, woo.
Oh my God, that used to be so annoying. I love how they've actually done like a very good job of making the voice annoying to the point where, like I would just want to lower the volume.
But when she started crying or something or got emotional, it was like 10 times funnier. I just started laughing. Like, woo, woo.
I think Sunyu talking back or like trying to console as well was quite hilarious because the accent would nevertheless remain. So it would be like really weird.
But do you ever think about why all of them remained? Okay, last question before we move on. Do you ever think about why they remained friends with Jian? Because he'd beat them up like all the time. Toxic friendships at its finest.
Actually, yeah, now that I think about it, I'm going to require some time to process all of this. That actually does make no sense at all.
I know, right? Yeah, you think
Why?
about that. Exactly, think about
They
it.
could have easily just like clubbed themselves together and just gone against Jian.
But I think he's big and he can beat all of them up at once. I think he's done that multiple times.
But maybe it was just that, they shared memories as kids. And as kids, you don't exactly know what you're doing wrong or what is right or what these toxic things are. And then once you grow up, maybe Jian, while he was growing up, he kind of understood and probably did something about it.
Wow. Okay, now I have a little game.
Okay.
It's a rapid fire game because I couldn't come up with a better name because I'm sleep deprived.
So this is right after I told my story about the farewell quiz. Nice. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a game. Oh yeah, I remember what you mean. Okay, so you have to think really fast. Think quick.
Okay.
Okay. Be on your toes. Think quick. And don't think too much. Whatever comes to your mind. So prepare yourself. Don't be nervous or be nervous. I don't really care. You're the one answering the questions.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna try and look like this. Okay. Okay. You ready? First question is, what is something you've never told anyone? Like, what's something you probably did that you never told anyone, or just in general, what is something you've never told anyone?
I mean, I would actually have to think about this because there
Sure.
are.
I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
During COVID,
Uh-huh.
you remember how like every teacher would ask you to switch on your cameras?
Oh God, yeah.
Right. So what I used to do was I would always have my cameras switched on to a point where I was asked to switch it off.
Funny.
So I think that would be something that counts under this.
Sure, that's great.
Yeah.
Was it on purpose that you did that?
Not exactly, but
Oh,
yeah.
Studious kid. Yeah.
It wasn't serious either. I think it was because the teachers would, want answers, and anytime that they want answers, they would require you to switch on your camera. And in a class full of 32 students, you can't possibly see everyone in that panel, which is why they would ask you to switch it off as well. If let's suppose you've done it for a long time. So yeah.
Don't you think it's kind of discrimination that they'd not accept your answer unless your camera is on?
I think they'd want to see your face just to make sure that okay, you're not reading from Google.
No, but in general, like even if they know your face, they're like, we're not going to accept your answer unless your camera is on, which I think is discrimination.
I think she needs chai because again, you need to understand that they need to kind of track your eye movement to make sure that the answers that you're saying.
Is it ever that deep? I don't think ours ever went that level of like, I don't know what's the word. Carefulness, I guess. We never were that careful. I mean, never mind. Okay. Next question. Who is your celebrity crush?
Celebrity crush. I don't have one.
Really?
Yes.
I can't imagine not having one. Okay, just pick one. Don't say Taylor Swift though. She can't be your safety net for literally everything.
No, but the thing is, I genuinely don't have a celebrity crush, so I can't just pick anyone.
Wow. So you don't. That's so interesting.
Next
I can't.
question.
Yeah, I can't. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What was the last lie you said?
The last lie.
I thought I said we're not gonna think so much.
No, I really have to think about this because I usually don't lie.
Okay. Was there at any point you
such.
lied during this whole thing?
I didn't lie during this whole thing.
Okay, fine. I'll accept that answer because that's all that matters to me right now. Okay. If you could swap lives with anyone, who would that be? Dead, alive, famous, not famous, a random person.
Swap lies in the sense of living as that person.
Yeah, like for a day, if you could swap lives with anyone.
Okay, so in that case, I would say it would be an economist, probably.
I was thinking you're gonna say like Elon Musk or someone. Do you know any famous economists?
No, because you mentioned the time thing. That if it could be from any time.
Oh yeah.
Right. So imagine going back in time and then just being one of those economists.
Yeah.
And they used to have like a lot of power back in the day. Wherein of course it was a new field, and they would be the ones responsible for creating all sorts of currencies, and they would essentially be making a huge impact.
Yeah.
So I think that would be pretty cool.
I do like that answer. That actually makes sense. I do think they had a lot of power back then.
Right.
Actually,
So imagine that with the modern knowledge.
Exactly. Wow, smart. Smart. One time, because people from back in the day with all those paintings and stuff, they look the same. Because those like back in the day, you couldn't take pictures like the 1800s or something, or like the 1700s. I don't know. So there used to be like paintings of famous people. Like
right. Mona Lisa.
Yeah, like Mona Lisa, or like people like Mozart or Beethoven and stuff like that. You have
Shakespeare
paintings
as well.
of them. Yeah. One time they showed a picture of Christopher Columbus on TV, and I accidentally called him Shakespeare. Because
How did you?
No, the name was, I was like, oh, that's Christopher Columbus. But for some reason, I saw his face, and I'm like, that's Shakespeare. And then I was like, something doesn't seem right. Why would Shakespeare find America or whatever, And then I'm like, why did I say that? Same way I confuse Anne Hathaway and Anne Frank.
Who is Anne Hathaway? Why is there silence for this? Is it like an historical figure?
Shakespeare's wife's name was literally Anne Hathaway. Anne Hathaway is an actress. Have you watched The Princess Diaries? Devil Wears Prada? What else was she in? Les Mis. Forget it. No one's watched Les Mis, honestly. Anyone I know, they haven't watched it. Forget it. Okay, well, good job. I'm sure you've seen Anne Hathaway before. You just know her by face and not by name, maybe.
Other movies, maybe.
Yeah. What else has she done? Catwoman. She played Catwoman.
No.
With Christian Bale. Okay, forget it. Never mind. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our episode. Before we end, I have this thing called look into the camera, and if you have any words of wisdom, or I call it like wow. Get it? Because wow, words of wisdom, or anything you want to say.
No, wait, I'm so sorry. I'm just thinking about Anne, whatever.
I will show you a picture.
And I think you mentioned Christian Bale.
Yeah, because he played Batman. Yeah.
Was she in a movie with this person for How to Lose
a Guy in 10 Days? That's
Yes.
Kate Hudson. You know what? I will show you a picture. Yeah, so if you have any words of wisdom, wow, I will make a joke.
Who is Christian Bale? Yeah.
Girl, just answer the question. Look into the camera and just say whatever you want.
Yeah. Yes. Are you going to be showing me the picture? Okay. Just speak. Look into the camera. What would you like me to speak about?
Any words or anything you want to say. Look into the camera, like any words of wisdom that you have, or anything, any message you want to say, or anything like that.
So since a lot of the discussions that took place today was about university life, and of course about empowerment and think the words of wisdom that I would want to say would be more about how you are going to be spending, your university life. And I would say, in that case, completely disregard this podcast for, the kind of advice that, you might be looking for. Because at the end of the day, I think in order to make most use out of your university life, you would definitely need to go through those ups and downs regardless. And I think it's necessary. And I think it's up to you to, sort of understand what makes your university life unique to you. And it doesn't have to apply to anyone else as long as it makes a great story for you, which you can talk to about with people.
Well, that brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for listening. And this is all credits to Micah
Yeah, thank
for inviting me for this absolutely wonderful podcast.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun.
Of course you did.
I take whatever I said back.
Okay.
No,
well,
I'm just kidding. But seriously, thank you. It was amazing talking to you.
Oh my god. Girl. Okay, I'm boosting my ego here. Thank you very much. That's how I deal with compliments. Well, thank you all for watching. Long episode once again, but very exciting. If you want to be on here like him, check out, details wherever they're shining, and talk to us, and we'd love to have you. Okay, till then, bye bye. Oh, also, if you liked it, like, share, subscribe, comment.
Would you like me to say something as well along those lines?
Your choice.
So what do you say after like, share, comment, subscribe?
I just stare into the camera and pretend I'm not being awkward. Okay, well, I will see all of you in the next episode. Bye bye.